Howdy my totally tubular gamers, and we're finally back with another developer ranking video, and today's is going to be on Infinity Ward. And so for this ranking retrospective kind of video, we're going to be ranking every game that Infinity Ward has made up until this point. But before the ranking, here's a little context and history on the studio. Now, Infinity Ward was founded in 2002 and is owned by Activision. They've been owned by Activision basically since day one, and they are still around today. They are headquartered in Woodland Hills, California, but they are all over the world with a couple other studios now. The studio is best known for a number of Call of Duty games, with their Modern Warfare series being the most popular and a heavy contributor to the series' success as a whole. But like every mega studio these days, they do actually have humble beginnings. They were formed back in 2002 by several members of 2015 Games LLC, the studio that developed the successful Medal of Honor Allied Assault. Now, Allied Assault was a pretty big success critically and commercially and did very well for EA. However, a couple of the developers, particularly Grant Collier, Jason West, and Vince Zampella, were quite dissatisfied with EA. They were really dissatisfied with the contract that they had with them. And it got to a point that they would actually leave EA and the Medal of Honor series behind and would team up with Activision to start the new competing Call of Duty series. And then in late 2003, Infinity Ward would release their very first game and the first game in the Call of Duty series, known simply as Call of Duty, exclusively on the PC. And the game was a pretty decently big success, and it won a number of awards, was critically received, and actually sold pretty well. Shortly after this release, Microsoft would actually reach out to Activision and Infinity Ward to seek a Call of Duty title as a launch title for their upcoming Xbox 360 console. Then in 2005, right there with the Xbox 360's launch, was Call of Duty 2. Now, Call of Duty 2 was also very well received, but it sold way more than the initial game since it was on PC and the 360. And it was here where Activision really saw the potential of Call of Duty and would really start up the Call of Duty machine. They would bring in Treyarch, another one of their internal studios, to help develop additional Call of Duty games, with Infinity Ward taking their time to work on the next big jump for the series. Then in 2007, we would get Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, which instead of taking place during World War II, would, like the title suggests, be set in modern day. Now, Modern Warfare is really when Call of Duty just took off in general. It just absolutely exploded. The game was a massive hit critically and commercially, winning tons and tons of awards and selling way more than Call of Duty 1, 2, and 3 ever did. It was certainly beyond Activision and Infinity Ward's wildest dreams, and this actually led to a lot of disputes internally between Infinity Ward and Activision, particularly a couple of the leaders. Then in 2009, they would release Modern Warfare 2 to even more critical and commercial success. It was just getting crazy. Then in 2010, Activision would actually release a number of Infinity Ward staff, including some of the founders/leaders of Infinity Ward, who in turn would actually make their own new studio back with EA known as Respawn Entertainment. Kind of funny how they ended up back with EA. Then in 2011, they would release Modern Warfare 3 to, again, critical and commercial acclaim. However, in 2012, Robert Bowling, the creative strategist of Call of Duty and really leader of Infinity Ward, would actually leave the studio, being cited with too much pew-pew, not enough new. Since then, things have been pretty steady between Infinity Ward and Activision. In 2014, Neversoft, the creators of the Tony Hawk Pro Skater series, would actually be merged with Infinity Ward to form a, quote, super studio. And since then, Infinity Ward has opened a number of new studios across the globe to help with the Call of Duty series. So with the history out of the way, let's get to the rankings. So Infinity Ward has really had their hand in just about every single Call of Duty game released, since just about every Call of Duty runs on the Infinity Ward engine. So for this list, we're going to be looking at just the games developed primarily by Infinity Ward, rather than every game they've had a hand in. So no Black Ops, no World at War, no Advanced Warfare, no Vanguard. We're looking at the games developed primarily by Infinity Ward. This list will obviously be outdated as more and more Call of Duty titles come out, so please look at the date before you tell me I'm missing a certain game. When it comes to my history with the studio, it's pretty much everyone else's. Played Modern Warfare pretty much back when it came out. I was much younger then, but still could appreciate the game and its quality, and I still really do like their games for the most part. We'll be ranking these games based off the quality, obviously, so the campaign's quality, the story, the multiplayer, Spec Ops, or any other game modes they throw in there, just really what I think of the whole game as a whole. As always, let me know in the comments below your list, your order, what you think of these games, or how I'm completely wrong, since I think a lot of us are going to have different opinions, especially on a list like this. With all that out of the way, I guess it's time to get started with the ranking video. Like, share, sub, all that good stuff. So what do I think is Infinity Ward's worst game? Ghosts is what I think Infinity Ward's weakest game is. I think Call of Duty Ghosts is not only the weakest game by this developer, but I think it's arguably the worst Call of Duty in the mainline series. I think Ghosts is probably the biggest misfire in like the entire Call of Duty series. I get what they were trying to do. They really wanted to get away from the Modern Warfare stuff. They had done 3 games of Modern Warfare. They wanted to try something a little different. It's a shame that I think this game really just falls flat on its face in every single aspect. I think the campaign and story were just not very good. I think the multiplayer might be the worst multiplayer in a mainline Call of Duty game, and Extinction, while fun for the first 2 or 3 times, gets very repetitive very quickly and isn't even as replayable as Spec Ops, let alone Zombies. The story is isolated, different, and also weird from the other Call of Duty games. It's also not very good. It's about these 2 brothers who join a group known as the Ghosts after they save their lives, and it's about them taking down an ex-ghost. The game lacks really any emotion, its characters are all very dull, the plot progresses at a snail's pace it feels like at times, it's borderline nonsensical in some aspects, the antagonist of the game, Rourke, isn't very good at all, and the ending is actually a cliffhanger. Yeah, there's a cliffhanger ending and we'll never know what happens since there's never going to be a sequel. I generally thought the story of this game was pretty trash. Now when it comes to playing through the actual campaign, it's your run-of-the-mill standard Call of Duty campaign. It just doesn't really do anything special, it feels very generic, and the game's set pieces were not all that exciting. The only one even really worth mentioning was the one where you play as the dog. When you play as the dog, I mean, this was alright. Speaking of the dog, they really hyped this dog up before the game came out. I remember back, almost 10 years ago, they were hyping the dog up more than the story, it seemed. The dog and like the fish moving were the focal points.
Fish, move out of the way when you get close to them. Fish, move out of the way when you get close to them.
And yeah, the game looked incredible. It still looks great, don't get me wrong, but it seems like the developer's priority went into the graphics of the fish moving and the dog's fur and all that, instead of the story, its characters, any emotion, or really this gameplay feeling any different than the previous couple games, because it does not. And the less said about the multiplayer, the better. And multiplayer is just awful, with terrible time to kill and probably the worst maps in the whole series. Lazily designed and they're far too big. So this leads to a lot of boring downtime where you're just kind of running around looking for people. How you have boring multiplayer? Extinction mode, it's not very good either. Sure, powering and protecting the generators and killing these aliens is fun enough the first time you do it. However, you realize that it's just the same map over and over, and it plays out exactly the same way over and over. There's like no reason to do it past 1 or 2 times, and it's like that's all you get. I think COD Ghosts is pretty bottom tier and just ultimately weak sauce and not worth playing at all. Our next game is Infinite Warfare. Now, Infinite Warfare might be one of the most hated games in the series, but I don't think it's as bad as Ghosts. Infinite Warfare decided to follow Black Ops 3 and Advanced Warfare's footsteps and be a futuristic shooter also, much more futuristic than Ghosts. The game would take place across many planets and in space as well. The campaign I thought was actually pretty decent to good, with an interesting enough story, likable characters, fun gameplay, and a multiplayer that was extremely pay to win, and zombies that was interesting. The game's campaign sees a fellow Jonathan, this time being Jon Snow, as he's basically a interplanetary terrorist and is going after America and the world in general. See, he split off with a bunch of people many years ago and now they're taking their revenge, I guess, out on the world. None of this stuff is shown, but he was pretty one note, but I liked our main character. I thought he was alright. Yeah, he was just generic white dude number 39, but at least he had good motivation and actually had some emotion behind it, and, I thought it was alright. Now, when it comes to actually playing through the campaign, it feels a lot more in line with the futuristic side of COD, with the slide and the jet boosters, and you can run on the walls. And like Advanced Warfare, it really is a half-assed attempt to make it feel like Titanfall without actually feeling like Titanfall or even anything good. You can play through pretty much this entire game like a regular Call of Duty campaign and you'll be just fine. You rarely have to actually use the wall slide or the jet boosters. There are a few cool moments in space, that's cool, but generally speaking, you don't really use any of the movement options. The game did have some cool set pieces though, especially all the space warfare, and being able to just get in your ship, fly around, blow stuff up, get out of it, blow more stuff up. I thought that was enjoyable. I thought the space stuff was, it was generally enjoyable. They even threw some side missions in. They're all trash and ruin the pacing of the campaign, but at least they're here. When it comes to the multiplayer, it really drags the whole game down for me. Like, the multiplayer is just crazy pay to win. It is the worst of the worst. It is one of the worst instances I've ever seen of pay to win. Like, oh my god, this is just terrible, and the maps are just garbage. Like, not ghost bad, but this is just gross. Really just hate how the whole multiplayer set up and how they just want you to buy stuff. And then there was the zombies. I mean, it really is just a carbon copy of Treyarch's zombies mode, and at least it has personality with this future retro kind of feel going on, but it's your standard zombies affair. There wasn't really all that much to it, but at least I had a little fun with it. I can say that over Extinction. But Infinite Warfare, yeah, I don't think it's going to be looked on too fondly in the future. I mean, really, since that initial trailer came out, people have just been ready and have hated this game. And, you know, I think the multiplayer, I think that's well warranted, but I think that there might be some decent aspects to this game, but ultimately it's just going to probably be forgotten. And so here we have Call of Duty Warzone, the free-to-play battle royale that was released a number of months after Modern Warfare as just a separate game mode, but eventually became really its own beast entirely and has since become its own game. And while Infinity Ward was the primary developer on Warzone pre-release, it is worth noting that post-release really every Activision developer has worked on Warzone in some way. But when it comes to Warzone, what really is there left to say? It's a battle royale. You either go in by yourself, duos, trios, or as a squad. You basically fly over the map in a plane, you all jump out, you land somewhere, and you hunt everyone else down. The map gets smaller and smaller to prevent anyone from camping. You scourge for weapons and items and different ways to kill each other, and yeah, you just kill each other. They really expanded on Blackout from Black Ops 4, and I think that this is much better than Blackout. There's a lot more options and a lot more different ways you can go about the Battle Royale. There is another mode in addition to the Battle Royale known as Plunder, where you collect cash as well. It's not just the Battle Royale, but good luck finding all that many matches. It's really the Battle Royale that's the popular thing for it. But as a Battle Royale, it's actually pretty alright to good. I think Warzone's actually a pretty fun time. I'm not a big Battle Royale guy. I was really big on PUBG back when it came out, and I think this is way better than PUBG. When it comes to comparing it to Fortnite, I mean, I only played Fortnite when it came out, so I guess I had more fun with this than Fortnite. And yeah, I guess you can start sharpening your pitchforks now, but I really did like the map. I like the whole money system, how it does really incentivize you to explore and do these challenges that show up and actually get kills instead of just hiding in one spot. I did like all the mixing and the matching of a bunch of different Call of Duty games. I think it's really cool how they've all come together and you can just use a ton of different weapons from all these different games. It still feels really nice since it's Modern Warfare. And you know, playing this game with my buddy really was some of the funniest experiences I've had playing any video game in a long time. Whether it was just getting sniped out of the sky when you're trying to parachute down at the start of every game, or my legendary battles with XX Booty Eater 420 or Dookie. I'm sorry. XX Booty Eater 420 XX or Dookie in your mouth. It was fun, but the game does have a ton of microtransactions. It is free to play, so I guess it makes a bit sense, but tons of microtransactions, and they really incentivize you playing the other Call of Duty games that are with this title, like Vanguard, Cold War, MW 2019, etc.
Time to earn your freedom, soldier. Stand by for redeployment.
And like most modern Call of Duty games, the interface is just complete garbage with way too much information and ads and stuff to buy on screen at once, and yeah, it's just not good. I also didn't like how certain game modes take over the Battle Royale. For instance, Vanguard mode, where you can only use World War II weapons, replaces regular Battle Royale. Wasn't a big fan of that because I like all the weapons mixing and matching, but I mean, that's just, I guess, part of it being a live service. So is it worth trying? I mean, it's free and it's a Battle Royale. I'm pretty sure everybody's got their own opinion on a Battle Royale at this point, so leave you with that. And so here we have the original Call of Duty released in 2003, the one that really started it all. Now, the original Call of Duty is obviously very different from what the series ultimately would become, as the original Call of Duty is a pretty serious World War II military shooter, with a very heavy emphasis on its campaign, as you got to play through 3 different sides of the war, and all of the missions were based on actual operations that happened in World War II, not this crazy movie Hollywood-esque shit that goes on in the later games. There was the American, British, and Soviet campaigns to go through, and each one had its own ups and downs, and generally speaking, I think it is actually a pretty good game to play through. Has it aged all that well? It's still aged pretty alright, but in all honesty, it doesn't really do all that much different from shooters at the time, particularly Medal of Honor Allied Assault. And I know that's because a majority of the developers for this game were the people who made Allied Assault, but it feels a lot like Allied Assault, only now there's a ton of teammates that are supposedly there to help you but don't end up doing anything, and this game was one of the first games to actually let you look down iron sights. I know it sounds crazy now, but yeah, most games at the time did not let you ADS, and this game let you ADS, so it was kind of a big deal then. Another thing that's different from the modern games is that you don't regenerate health. You have to actually pick up health pickups to get your health back. That's different. And this game even has some set pieces to it also. It has some very okay set pieces like this chase sequence or when you're dodging rockets. I mean, that was fine enough. Now, the original Call of Duty, it doesn't do really anything all that bad, but it doesn't really do anything all that great either. It's pretty generic, and it's a pretty run-of-the-mill shooter for the time, a pretty run-of-the-mill World War II shooter, which was very, very saturated at this point in time. And you know, it's a fine shooter, it's a fine game, it's got some fun little parts to it, but ultimately, I mean, unless you're really curious about where Call of Duty started as a serious war shooter, I can't say that you'll particularly love this game. And so here we have Modern Warfare 2019, the reboot to the Modern Warfare series. Infinity Ward was done messing around with that future stuff and was like, you know what, we're just going to go back to what worked. And Modern Warfare worked, and you know, this game, it's actually pretty alright to good. They really went back to the roots of Modern Warfare and that boots on the ground experience, because that's what the players wanted, and ultimately I think we get a better, more refined Call of Duty experience than the last couple games Infinity Ward made. And really, putting the series back in modern day was almost a breath of fresh air. Almost. It really gets that visceral, raw feeling from the old Modern Warfare games. And the story is actually pretty good in this game, with a lot of shock moments and can feel scary real in a few aspects. Really, the story is about a couple characters teaming up with Captain Price to stop some terrorists, and you also get to go over the terrorist origin stories, and I'll leave it at that. And there are some pretty morally awful things that happen in this game that can feel a bit unnecessary, like when you play as the little girl, like, jeez, man. But then we get to actually playing through the campaign, and I gotta say, they really revamped how the game feels. The guns feel fantastic, and they sound great. And just controlling this game, it's actually very nice and does feel a bit different from the last COD game. The levels and set pieces I thought were pretty good to great. There were a number of set pieces where I was like, been there, done that. It feels a bit generic. We've already seen this. But then really any of the night missions, like the ones where you clean house or the one where you go around like this kind of open area and have to take out people quietly, like this was actually very well done. And these are the highlight of the campaign. If you're going to play the campaign, it's for these missions. The night missions are very well done. And then when it comes to the multiplayer, yeah, it really does feel like the 360 games for the most part. They really went back to the roots of COD and that boots on the ground experience. Something that is different from the 360 games is the interface is total garbage now, just like Warzone. The Pick 10 system is gone, and now there's the Gunsmith, with the customization being actually very well done. The customization, that's pretty well done. Playing the actual multiplayer, it's just as toxic as I remember.
Trash. 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 Trash.
Hey, y'all are fucking ass. Y'all are fucking ass. Hey, y'all are fucking ass. Hey,
And playing Search and Destroy in 2022 really takes me back to the early 2010s, where I guess everyone must have gotten an N-word pass.
Same time, can't even understand he finally thought of something to say. Pendejos.
Yeah.
He finally thought of something to say. It took him 5 minutes.
Pendejos. He's
just repeats himself like a fucking
pendejo.
And there were a number of new modes introduced in this game, however, good luck finding anybody playing them. Everyone's just left them for Warzone, so I couldn't even try them. And then there was Spec Ops mode. Spec Ops in Modern Warfare 2019 unfortunately is just pretty dreadful. It wasn't very good at all, and a shell of its former self. It's stupidly hard, you really need a party if you want to get anywhere in it, and everything just kind of kicks your ass. I didn't find it all that exciting, I thought it was just kind of boring, and I couldn't get anybody to play it, and I couldn't even find a game online. I guess everybody just thinks it's crap too. Aside from that, though, I think MW 2019 was really a step in the right direction for Call of Duty. It's a shame that that step was literally a step backwards to what they've already done, but this game is better than the other games I discussed. Alright, so here we have Modern Warfare 3, which was co-developed with Sledgehammer, released in 2011. So Modern Warfare 3 really looked at Modern Warfare 2 and they pretty much just said, let's just do more of it. MW3 really kept the same general gameplay and tone and feel of Modern Warfare 2. They just kind of added a little bit more to it. And to be totally honest with you, MW2 and 3 basically play identical to each other. They feel the same, they look the same, they're very similar. The campaign, though, the campaign is actually pretty good. It follows up on that cliffhanger from MW2. It has its own shock moments, and it's really about going after Makarov. I think a lot of the set pieces are actually pretty great, and the last set piece in the game, ooh, that's one of the best in the series. The gunplay feels nice, it's super snappy, and the campaign really is as linear as you'd expect. They even brought the AC-130 back from MW1, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I did like the campaign. Then we have the multiplayer, which was highly contested back in the day, and I remember a lot of people arguing whether it was better than MW2 or not, and I gotta say, it's certainly more balanced than MW2. That was the main thing they were going for here, was balance. It is much more balanced, and a lot of the weapons were on even playing fields. This was actually the Call of Duty to introduce Kill Confirm, which is one of my favorite modes in the series. It's just a variation of TDM, where you go and collect their dog tags after you kill them, but I'll be honest, it's really fun, and I've always enjoyed it, especially when this game came out. I really love Kill Confirm. And I thought the maps were pretty decent, not all that much to them, but that's fine. We don't need these giant sprawling maps. They weren't as memorable as, say, MW2's, but they were good. I remember the spawns were a hot topic back in the day of whether or not they were good. The spawns I always thought were very questionable in this game, and it would like spawn you right where the enemy team is far too often, and that was always an issue I had with it. But generally speaking, the multiplayer was pretty fine. It was just kind of more MW2, but again with the balancing, that's all there really was to it. Spec Ops returned, and it was fine enough. It's better than the new Modern Warfare. It's just kind of there. There's a survival type mode where it was kind of like zombies with people instead, and the kill streaks, which zombies eventually got kill streaks too, so. But I thought the survival mode was fine enough. I think this is when people were really starting to kind of get sick of Modern Warfare and sick of Call of Duty in general. It was getting a bit overexposed, a game every year feeling so similar to each other. Like, people were really turning on Call of Duty when this came out. And I think that's kind of unfair. I think MW3 was actually one of the better CODs. I don't know how many people are playing it nowadays, but I have some fun memories with it, that's for sure. So our next game is Modern Warfare 2, released in 2009. Oh boy, Modern Warfare 2. What is even left to say about Modern Warfare 2? And you know, I can remember back when it came out, there were few releases at the time that were as hyped up or as big as Modern Warfare 2. Like, it was big. It was a big deal. MW2 is really where the series changed. It went from this really serious war shooter series to what it is now, which is a macho, like, Chad shooter series, and you knew everything was different when Eminem was playing on all the trailers. And this tone really extended to the entire game with its really epic new campaign with a very controversial mission in it, its multiplayer that would also change the game for better and worse, bring on a new level of toxicity that had not been seen before in gaming, and then there was Spec Ops, which was pretty much the same.
Shoot a gun, you riot shield. What else you want me to fucking riot shield? I'm a pussy that use riot shield. Oh, I'm a pussy. What do you want me to use? Faggot. You tell me what you want to fucking use. Prestige, you fucking fag. Tell me what the fucking is, huh?
The campaign was great with it continuing after Modern Warfare and has you really just stopping more terrorists, and I'll leave it at that. And it has a bunch of fan favorite, now iconic to pop culture characters like Ghost, Soap, Price. Makarov, and even Shepard. The game had a ton of memorable missions, whether you were Ramirez defending Burger Town or you were doing a really horrible thing like No Russian. This campaign definitely was memorable, and it was actually really well done, and I think that ending is very iconic also. I do like the campaign.
Oh my god! Oh! Oh my fucking god! Oh! Oh! No! Get the camera!
And then the multiplayer, yeah, a lot of people really love the multiplayer MW2. A lot of people thought it was like the next coming of Christ, especially back in the day. They were just obsessed with it. And you know, I never got too big on it, but I can absolutely see the appeal and why people liked it so much. A lot of these weapons and maps have just become synonymous with video games and Call of Duty in general. Like, they are just iconic. I mean, don't even get me started on Rust or the Intervention when it comes to weapons. Like, those are iconic. I can say that, yeah, it isn't balanced all that well. A lot of the weapons, in fact, a select number of weapons, are just way better than the other weapons in this game. Some of these weapons are just borderline useless by comparison. But despite the balancing issues, the customization is really well done in this game. Like, you can have a really custom loadout and play however you really want to play. Something that I think later Call of Duties really have lost. And it's like in the new Call of Duties, it feels a lot more homogenized. You gotta just kind of have a machine gun and go at it. I feel like in MW2, you can have tons of different loadouts and actually get good results. And part of that is the maps. I think the maps are actually really well designed, not just Rust. I do like the maps. They're actually well done. And then we get to how toxic it is. See, MW2 is probably like the most toxic game ever made, and the amount of shit talking that went on with this game, especially like when it was new, was just completely unprecedented and will always crack me up. It really was something else, and hopefully we never get another game as toxic as this ever again, but it was pretty funny, I can say that. Then we have Spec Ops, which was fine enough. I mean, it was just, yeah, it was Spec Ops. It's better than what we got nowadays, but yeah. MW2 is an infamous game for better and for worse, and if you haven't played it at this point in time, should you play it nowadays? I mean, that's up to you. We're probably going to get a new MW2 soon enough here, and there's no way it's going to be as toxic, but I've got some good memories with this game, and always remember, no Russian.
Fucking idiot. You're looking like the loser right now. You test procedures using riot shield, bitch. Motherfucker, that's what the fuck you are. Keep using your riot shield, faggot. Keep using your riot shield. Keep using your riot shield, pussy.
I know some people are going to be pretty surprised to have it this high, but here we have Call of Duty 2. Now, I think Call of Duty 2 is the best World War II Call of Duty game and a fantastic shooter all around. The game was actually a pretty decent improvement / overhaul on the original Call of Duty. It still is a pretty serious war shooter where you play through 3 campaigns, Americans, British, and Russians, as you pretty much just all fight the Germans. There wasn't all that much of a story, and it still took itself relatively seriously, and you went through a lot of real-world missions. But while that was the same, the gameplay was improved on in a number of different ways. Not only did it feel a lot smoother and the weapons felt a lot better, but there was more weapons, more set pieces, more levels. The levels were more engaging, the AI was better, and everything felt snappier. And you know, it really did feel different from COD 1. It didn't feel like a bit of a clone of Allied Assault. No, it really felt like its own game, and it really is actually a good World War II shooter. I'd argue it's one of the best World War II shooters you could play. I thought the game was a lot of fun back then, and you know, I still think it is pretty fun nowadays. I think the ADSing is a lot better than it was in the first game, and this game brought in regenerating health, which was the norm for the rest of the series minus one game. And you know, it really was just a solid campaign. But there was also the multiplayer. The multiplayer was pretty popular back when the 360 launched, as it was really the big shooter until Halo 3 showed up. And you know, it was still actually populated up until not that long ago. I'm not going to say the multiplayer was amazing or like superb or all that addicting like other COD games, but you know, it was fun enough, especially for the time. And really, Call of Duty 2, yeah, it is a bit of a product of its time. It absolutely is, and it has aged a bit. But I still think it is a very enjoyable World War II shooter. I think that if you're interested in World War II shooters, it's a must play. But if you want to see the roots of COD, absolutely, this is much better than COD 1, and it's more widely available. And I think the best game Infinity Ward has ever made is COD 4 Modern Warfare. I think this is one of the best COD games and probably one of the best first-person shooters of all time, and one of the most influential. This game really changed COD forever, and it changed gaming forever, as after this, for the next couple years, modern military shooters were in. They were the thing. They were what was making the big bucks, and you have COD 4 to thank for this. COD 4 really was built on two big pillars. Its awesome campaign that really changed how we look at campaigns and shooters, and its multiplayer that also changed how we look at multiplayer in shooters. This really was where the COD formula was established, and what it feels like a lot of other COD games, in fact most of them, really have been trying to replicate since COD 4. Now when it comes to the campaign of COD 4, it is arguably the best campaign that the series has ever seen, and I can say it's the game with the most memorable missions. The amount of awesome levels and set pieces in COD 4 really is unparalleled when it comes to comparing these games. Like Call of Duty 4, it's almost every mission, if not just every mission, that has become iconic and just very memorable. Fighting in the streets of Afghanistan, the epic vehicle chases, all ghillied up, the nuke going off, blowing people up with the AC-130. These are all very memorable, iconic images and levels and set pieces. Like, it just meant a lot, and it really left a lasting impact. The story wasn't even anything all that crazy or unseen. Ultimately, it was just you, the player, as Soap, teaming up with your squad mates and Captain Price to go after some terrorists. I mean, that really was the story. And, you know, it was a big leap for the series, as before this, there really wasn't any stories in these games because they were World War II shooters. And this game really had a story, it had an antagonist, and it actually had some stakes. The story was done well, the gameplay was pretty great, it was different from a lot of shooters at the time, it was different from even COD 2 and 3. And again, it is the most memorable Call of Duty campaign of them all. You can't tell me otherwise. Like, I'd really love to hear someone say that there's a COD campaign more memorable and iconic than Call of Duty 4. Like, really? Really?
Oh, baby, a triple! Oh, yeah!
But it wasn't just the campaign, it was the multiplayer too. It took some of COD 2, but it really upped it by a lot. Obviously, it had modern weapons, which was a big plus, and added a lot more versatility than World War II could ever add, but it added perks, it added kill streaks, it added create a class. Like, this was stuff that was in other games, yes, but it was done differently in Call of Duty to the point that people just fell in love with this multiplayer. A lot of the maps were really carefully designed. Some of them were very iconic, like Shipment, and they were just all a blast to play on. I've always had a blast playing COD 4 multiplayer, whether it was back when the game was newer or any of the modded servers on PC where it was like 100 people Shipment and you're just killing everyone, or even now where there's the Modern Warfare remaster. COD 4 multiplayer, always going to be a good time, always fun, and really every Call of Duty has just expanded on it. But, you know, sometimes it's fun to go back to the basics. I mean, this game should be at the top of the list off innovation alone, but it's not just that. The game actually still is really good, to the point that I still do think it is the best Call of Duty made by Infinity Ward, and arguably the best Call of Duty of them all. I still really like this game. I know that this game is much beloved at this point and is borderline untouchable, but it really is that great of a game. And that's really it for this video. I'd love to know what you guys think, how you feel about Infinity Ward's games or Call of Duty in general. Next week we'll be back with another COD video, and it's going to be real interesting, that one. It's going to be a bit longer than this one too. If you made it to this part of the video, where the keyword we're going to use is bricks, you tell me bricks in the comments, you're going to get a heart from me. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more. Enjoy. Have a good one. Bye-bye.